Oh, and it's a beautiful morning to indeed call him Alpha, Omega, the beginning and the end. Who else to give all the praise to but to your God for giving you a great weekend? And that's Joe Metals' new one, Everything, making, so much strides over the weekend because he released it, I think, on the 1st of September. And so it really has caught traction. And I think it's a good song, a great one to start your week with. But good morning, gentlemen.
Yeah. Good morning.
Senior Bright was not around.
God deserves some accolades.
Yes.
A lot of accolades.
He does.
I wasn't too well. The doctor referred me to interpreting in Cape Coast.
Stop telling the story.
Is it
How many of you will
No,
believe?
not Ankafor.
Okay, I'm just...
Actually, that would have been nice. He can tell when he's going to get sick. He actually falls sick and he is unconscious, referred to interpret. He just went to Fit to our fashion. That's okay. It's okay to celebrate with the coach.
He has lived a longer time on this earthly plane. So when his fever is coming, he knows it.
And I didn't
inside his heart.
Yes, I don't know what happened. The doctor referred me to Internet. I was shocked when I gained consciousness. I was in Cape Coast.
So you just decided to partake in the festival. That's fine.
But the doctor says he should exercise, so he went to join them.
When you go to heaven and God opens the book, your name will be there.
All right.
Morning, guys, man. We trust you're fine. It's been a wonderful time. I'm counting down to my birthdays on Wednesday.
Yes,
it falls on my day exactly. It's Wednesday, so I'm counting down. Yeah.
Madam will be busy.
Good morning to MTN as well. I'm just
you asked them to. They owe you something.
They owe me. Yeah. They told me that they would do me show
on your birthday,
but they have not
because you used the network for so long.
Yes, more than 13 or 14 years. They have not done the show for 2 years in a row. So this year, because it's on my birthday and on my day, they should do me show.
MTN, please wake up this morning. Johnny is sending you a shout out.
But over the weekend, the NDC's regional elections, interesting trend, isn't it? For me, I'm seeing a trend of clean up and realignment.
Right.
Okay.
So clean up and realignment. That's the only thing I'm seeing. If you look at the people who looks like relatively, in most cases, relatively new people, and then there are a few of the old people who are maintained, and then Sami Ablodipe, for example, lost. Sami is a solid guy, but he lost out. Yamin, for example, in Ashanti region, lost.
The former deputy.
So you see that you see the trend. I don't know, but if the NDC really has 2020 in mind, then they certainly are doing something. I don't know if it's contained in the Kwesi Botwe report, and I don't know if the MPP is also watching, because if things are going the way they are going...
Johnny, I'm not surprised. You see, when a party loses an election, there is a tendency for the executives who led the party to the defeat to be booted out. So I'm not surprised at all. I think what is done is, for me, it's a normal thing. People losing positions because the delegates will see them that you were there and we went to position. Now we need clean or fresh hands to take us. But the key thing is how they work together and move on. So for me, it's not surprising at all.
If this new formulation will change anything in our politics, because will make us happy.
The national elections are yet to happen. If the trend at the regional elections is anything to go by, it will trickle up or down to the national elections.
The flag bearers.
Yes, and then you will have the old executive not necessarily getting re-elected, and then the flag bearership.
Okay, George, good morning.
Are you doing great? Are you okay?
I saw Bright at Capers.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for
wait. No,
did you know that Bright had a twin?
Oh, please. John, I said, when Jesus calls the names, do you want your name to be attached to his own for lying? You missed the call. You will certainly pick up one day.
This is serious blasphemy. Did you see me at the hospital or in Cape Coast?
Bright, I saw you in the street. Orange.
Having fun. I'm sure he was in those shorts.
You saw him on the street. But I told you earlier that the doctor said he should exercise.
As for Johnny, you see, the person who's committed the offense was quiet. And you are still anyway, John.
Well, if you have a good lawyer, you always have a good lawyer.
I hope you are paying him.
Pass
it through me. Anyway,
quickly, there's something.
Yeah. You went to chill.
Actually,
you went back home. I thought they were looking for you to stool you a chief or something.
Oh, no, really? No.
Okay, you dodged them.
No, I'm not
there is something quite worrying that I observed, and I have seen a couple of times until just over this weekend that I think that it is something we need to take a look at. There's always a traffic build-up from I think after Kaswa through Budubram to Winneba. Now, what is happening is that you find so many police dispatch riders getting funeral people, weddings, some institutions and private persons through the traffic. It is, for me, it is worrying because over the weekend, I counted 8 of them. So I asked the Kaswa MTTD and the Kaneshie MTTD, why? And the Doko, is that all the job they have to do?
But if you can pay for it, I mean, once they made it...
So you can pay for it?
Yes, once they commoditize it, they pay for it. I mean, you find these pastors ride along with policemen.
For me, it's quite worrying because they needed to do something more than just ferrying people through the traffic.
Well, but somebody is
who should
paid.
stay in the traffic?
So
who should stay in the traffic for you to just...
No, but you see,
That's
this
the
is where I have a challenge. If everyone was abiding by the law,
Yeah.
we would all go through easily. You wouldn't need motorcade, you wouldn't need anybody to ask you to pass through. And my problem is the people who cause all these problems or have to even deal with it are the ones that you are ferrying. How are they supposed to see the traffic and know that there are issues there to be solved?
And yes, they are
That's where I have a
driving
big
in the
problem.
middle of the
Yeah.
incoming and oncoming
In addition to that, you find that fair point Amma raised that look, the people who are supposed to be in the traffic feel the heat, the delay, and try and sit at their desks to fix the problems are the ones who are taking through. Plus, this is what will encourage people to install their own sirens because some of them can't afford the police escort, so they will install it.
Anyway, I saw the
we'll
road
talk about
being
this
opened
more when we
around
come back.
Budubram, and so maybe hopefully we'll get that road stretch open.
That will be the second time they are opening.
Yeah,
Exactly.
together.
But anyway, George.
So yeah, I've got all the news. Just stay tuned. I'm George Quinn, and it's time for news here on New Day. Coming up, the Chinese president has assured of his readiness to work with Ghana to ensure the relations between Ghana and China takes the lead on the African agenda. Delegates in Ashanti region have elected former vice chairman and businessman Augustus Nana Akwesi-Andrews as chairman of the party. The police has arrested a 41-year-old graphic designer for defrauding by false pretenses and impersonation. And on the foreign front, at least 6 people were killed when a suicide car bomb struck a local government office in central Mogadishu on Sunday. Thanks for staying your life on DSTV channel 279. My name is George Quaden. On to our very first story. The Chinese president has assured of his preparedness to work with Ghana to ensure relations between the country and China take the lead on the African agenda. According to the Chinese president, the 58-year-old traditional friendship and historic bond between China and Ghana was nurtured by Mao Zedong, Kwame Nkrumah and others, which must be allowed to flourish.
The Chinese leaders were confident that under their joint leadership, Ghana and China would enrich the friendship and cooperation between the two countries. Describing Ghana as a trustworthy friend and good partner for development, President Xi assured President Akufo-Addo of his commitment to intensify cooperation with Ghana. The Chinese leader assured of Beijing's commitment to finance the construction of the Jamestown Fishing Port Complex. He also promised the construction of a new cocoa processing facility, in line with President Akufo-Addo's vision of adding value to Ghana's raw materials. On defense cooperation, President Xi Jinping announced the provision of a 50 million Chinese yuan grant in military assistance, which will also aid in the construction of the headquarters of Ghana's armed forces. Then Xi also pledged his government will encourage Chinese firms to invest in Ghana and take advantage of programs such as One District, One Factory, planting for food and jobs, infrastructural development initiatives, particularly in the roads, railway and the energy sectors, amongst others.
Still on Ghana-China relations, both countries have signed 8 cooperation agreements and memoranda of understanding in different sectors of their respective economies. The agreement and MOUs are aimed at deepening the ties of cooperation and the bonds of friendship that exist between the two countries.
The agreements are the One Belt, One Road Memorandum of Understanding, Memorandum on Regional Aviation Cooperation, Agreement for Cooperation in the Peaceful Use of Nuclear Energy, and Cooperation to Carry Out Maternal and Child Health Project. The rest are Framework Agreement on Financing Insurance Cooperation, Economic Cooperation on Phase 2 project of the University of Health and Allied Sciences WHO, Cooperation on the expansion of the Cape Coast Stadium, and Cooperation on the supply of police vehicles to the Ghana Police Service.
We're counting on you in the way in which you worked with Bowie Dam, with higher quality work, that will also be a feature of the arrangements that we're making with Sino-Hydro. And therefore, Ghana too is very keen on providing as much support as possible to make the Sino-Hydro arrangement come on stream quickly. My understanding is that the agreement that was signed this morning with the Sino-Shore agreement, with the signing of the agreements this afternoon that we're going to do here, will complete virtually the entire group of documentation that was required to get the Sino-Hydro transaction.
Later in the day, President Akufo-Addo held bilateral talks with Premier of the State Council of the People's Republic of China, Li Qingquan, where matters involving infrastructural development, communications, and oil and gas were discussed. The president told the Chinese premier that a significant focus of his visit to China has to do with the $2 billion Sino-Hydro transaction.
Away from Ghana-China relations, let's delve into the camp of the NDC, where delegates in the Ashanti region have elected former vice chairman and businessman Augustus Nana Kwesi Andrews as chairman of the party after a keenly contested chairmanship elections. He won the seat with 699 votes, beating his closest contender, former Deputy Ashanti Regional Minister and former Deputy Sport Minister Joseph Yamin, who secured 611 votes. That's a report by Beatrice Spiogaba.
The NDC's regional election was expected to have ended early enough as the regional youth and women organizer elections had taken place weeks before. But that was not the case, as misunderstandings dragged the elections late into the evening of Saturday. Voting ended after 9 p.m. with sorting of ballots, counting and declaration of results running into 12:30 a.m. on Sunday. Due to earlier chaotic scenes between some private security persons and the police, some armed military men were called in to secure the counting of the ballot and also ensure sanity. Some of the aspirants, in a nervous mood, sat calmly as the ballots were being counted. At the end of it all, Augustus Nana Kwesi Andrews was declared the winner by the Regional Electoral Commission Director. General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia swore the new executives into office and charged them to work hard to bring the party back to power. Newly elected chairman Augustus Nana Kwesi Andrews thanked all the delegates for the confidence reposed in him.
If just tuned in, you're watching news here on New Day. We are live on DSTV channel 279. And as the conversation on taxing churches deepens, the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority has given some clarity on areas that the churches will be taxed. Emmanuel Kofinti says the authority will intensify education on tax compliance whilst ensuring that all taxable persons and organizations are roped in the tax laws of Ghana. Here's another report by Beatrice Spiogaba.
Since the announcement by the Ghana Revenue Authority that churches will be taxed, there have been mixed reaction, especially from the clergy and other stakeholders. The controversy has also surrounded which specific areas of the church's activities will be taxed. Addressing the 55th annual session of the Ghana Baptist Convention at Ejura in the Ashanti region, Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority said under the current Income Tax Act, incomes derived by religious bodies from business activities which are taxable include sale of anointing oil, water, spiritual consultation fee, disposal of assets, operation of bookshops, and operation of commercial transport.
If the church is getting profit from some of these activities, operating under a guarantee or a trust, and the benefits are not to individuals, That one, they can be excused on their taxes. The income of an individual may arise from sources including salaries, wages, overtime, leave pay, bonus, and similar employment income. Income from business, income from investment, gifts derived in course of employment, business, and investment. While the income is to the benefit of a specific individual, that income is subject to tax.
He also pointed out that religious organizations must also register for VAT if they make taxable supplies and their annual turnover from taxable supply exceed 200,000 cedis. Emmanuel Kofi Nti indicated the GRA has initiated training programs to ensure full compliance with the tax laws. President of the Ghana Baptist Convention, Reverend Dr. Ernest Edujemfi, believes the churches have their story to tell on how they utilize their tithes and offerings.
During this past year, we have received accreditation and payroll mechanization for 7 new Baptist health facilities by the Basic Health Association of Ghana, that is CHAD, and the Ghana government. It is noteworthy to say that the church is operating in areas where regular governmental facilities are not available. We are, by these services, complementing government efforts and meeting the health needs of our rural community.
85 investigators from 9 state agencies have been trained in mobile money fraud, piracy and intellectual property rights investigation. They moved by the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service in collaboration with MTN and the Ministry of Trade was in response to the growing report of cases in these crimes.
Available statistics show that the crime's conviction rate continued to drop mainly due to lack of quality investigation. This prompted the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service to step up capacity building for detectives. The effort has moved further to include investigators from all sister security agencies with the aim of opening up the network for effective results.
Due to the rise in piracy cases, the CID administration found it prudent to incorporate intellectual property rights into the curriculum of the academy.
The third training course for this year attracted participation from the CID, Military Police, Immigration Service, Economic and Organized Crime Office, (IOCO), Narcotic Control Board, Prison Service and Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority.
Criminal investigation agencies are facing many challenges in the investigation of traditional and modern crimes. It is therefore prudent and wise that investigating agencies have to evolve ways to improve quality of investigation, especially for economic and organized crime and its related legal issues.
The 85 participants were also trained in mobile money fraud, piracy and intellectual property rights investigation, which are emerging crimes with support from MTN and Ministry of Trade.
In addition, we seek to make the service more safer for our cherished customers. Hence, the need to strengthen our collaborative engagement with the law enforcement agencies and to do our best in supporting their efforts in fighting mobile money crime in this country.
And I hope and pray that the experience gained here will be put to very good use in ensuring the state of Ghana.
We have just one country we need to protect. And in protecting this country, we need a lot of collaboration. And it's beautiful that from here, as we go back to our various agencies, we have a good relationship with one another to be able to collaborate and cooperate to make fighting crime possible.
We believe that the collaboration between the CID in particular and the Ghana Prison Service can unearth so many information and intelligence that will be useful for our counterparts in the CID.
Participants were awarded with certificates and tasked to let the knowledge acquired bring a difference in their various places of operations.
Away from crime-related matters, let's delve into the health sector, where lack of ambulance is affecting effective healthcare delivery at the Richard Novati Catholic Hospital, popularly referred to as Akomboni Hospital at Sokakopendo Volta region. Patients are mostly carried on a motorbike to the hospital at the facility and depend on commercial vehicles for emergency referral. Here's a report by Peter Kwawo Adato.
The Komboni Hospital, one of the best health facilities in the South Tong district, serves over 75 communities in the district, but is faced with lots of challenges. Top of the challenges is the absence of an ambulance service, which is said to be a major challenge in the entire Volta region. Officials of the hospital say they depend on commercial vehicles for emergency referral cases, which often result in complications and sometimes avoidable deaths. Another concern is the absence of hospital beds, wheelchairs, structures, incubator, baby cots, among other essentials. Lying in beds in the maternity wards, for instance, are not in good shape. Delivery beds are also obsolete and weak, resulting in delivery complications. Officials say the challenges are being worsened by lack of government support for the hospital. Human Resource Manager of the hospital, Adolf Bamsa, said they depend mainly on meager internally generated funds to run the facility.
The average OPD attendance now is 190 daily. If Richard Novaji Hospital can also be recognized as one of the hospitals giving health care.
The cries of the hospital attracted the attention of Network of Women in Growth, a National Vocational Training Institute, who came to the aid of the maternity ward with incubators, 3-in-1 baby cots, and other materials.
And now let's see what's happening on the international front. At least 6 people were killed when a suicide car bomb struck a local government office in central Mogadishu on Sunday, destroying the building and a Quranic school opposite. Islamist militant group Al-Shabaab said it was behind the attack on Holodok district office, which also blew off the roof of a mosque and damaged houses nearby. At least 6 people had been killed, including soldiers, civilians, and the suicide bomber, and a dozen injured, according to police officer Mohammed Hussein. The school was open, but at the time of the blast, most children were away from the building on a break. According to the director of the Amin Ambulance Service, at least 14 people had been injured, including 6 children. And on that note, we end news here on New Day. You can get more news updates on our website, 3news.com. I'm George Queenie. Thanks for watching. New Day continues right after this break. Enjoy your morning.
Welcome back. Let's look at the front pages. BNFT this morning says GEF 2018 opens tomorrow, and Zoomlion presents 500 new waste trucks to MMDAs. Government eyes domestic tourism. That's there. I'm sure fallout from the Ghana Tourism Authority's Africa Leadership Tourism Conference there. So those are the front page stories. If you haven't bought your paper yet, well, you can grab a copy and get to know. The Herald this morning says Mensa Otabel's house in America resurfaced again, and nation on time bomb. As unemployment grows, Consolidated Bank Group, Indom, and TV Africa sack more workers. The Minister for Employment is there. Government losing fight against waste collection. Minister begs Zoomlion and others for help. The Daily Heritage says rains devastate Wa after 4 hours of downpour, and man-wife fight over twins. Zoomlion hands over 500 trucks, 1,000 containers to MMDAs, and Ghanaian women dying of male hormones. Oh. The Publisher, NDC regional elections, Ativo, Yamin fall as Adekoka wins. Zoomlion equips MMDAs with 500 trucks, and tourism can do more for Ghana. Baumia. NIB supports teachers awards, and Ghana-China signed 8 MOUs. The Daily Statement, EC proposes 200 more electoral areas in the Western region, plus Ghana-China seal $2 billion deal despite NDC sabotage. And NDC rejects Mahama friends. Jifativo there, Aquinas Kwanzaa, they lost the elections over the weekend. The Finder says Ghana-China ties on new path. 8 cooperation agreements and MOUs signed. Let's enhance Ghana's cultural heritage to spur economic growth, Dr. Bawumia. And Cocoa Board hints of reduction in cocoa producer price. If what? Banks record 1.22 billion Ghana cedis profit in 6 months, representing 21.7% increase. Daily Guide. Mahama boys flawed in NDC regional elections. Terry Aboating, Joseph Yamin, Jifativo, and Moses Bukari, they lost all the elections. Plus, Nana sells 2 billion Chinese deal, and government vets minus 50 billion bond coming. GJ's organizer returns to Atinka. The Ghanaian Times. China to invest $2 billion in Ghana to finance infrastructure, railways, etc. Double track system will address free SHS challenges. That's what we're being told. And Peking Government Hospital cries for accident unit. Why don't they have it? Why? The Daily Graphic. Ghana, China deepen ties. Agree to cooperate on 8 key issues. And Kabila moves injunction against National Cathedral on the 17th of October. Plus, 5 stalwarts defeated in NDC regional elections.
Well,
and that's it for the front pages.
Yeah.
All right. Very interesting stories. Monday morning. Johnny, I'm interested in, you can see a lot of issues about sanitation on almost all the newspapers.
Yeah,
Daily Graphic, The Times, The Herald this morning says that government is losing the fight against waste collection. And if you read the story deep, it says that government is simply asking private waste management companies to come in and support the fight. You know the president's vision of making Accra the cleanest city in Africa. Clearly, the argument is very clear that government can't do it. We know how issues with, if you remember, the president has asked MMDs to train sanitation marshals. We do not know exactly where that directive has got into, but the clear signal is that these MMDs cannot handle the waste problem. They don't have the equipment, they don't have the expertise. In fact, waste management has become, or is, a field that needs a lot of expertise. So these MMDs don't have it. And so they need a private sector that is gradually building this kind of expertise and getting the necessary equipment to come in and support. If you read all the stories, I mean, of all the newspapers, Zoomlion is big in there. And I guess the Minister Haji Alima suggesting that it is not only concentrating on Zoomlion and that all other private waste management companies can come in and contribute to cleaning the city of Accra and other cities. I take this suggestion from the minister with a pinch of salt, because we've been talking about sanitation for God knows how long. I don't believe that all the MMDAs or whichever it is do not have the expertise. In fact, before these private companies came to play, we had groups, or if you like, offices that have been set up in these assemblies who are dealing with it. So we have sanitation officers there. They're dealing with issues. And you see, their role primarily is not to wait till the problem happens and then try to fix it. Theirs was to help in the prevention, because government knew it didn't have the capacity to go and right the wrongs after the wrongs have been done. Right now, what happens is we leave the problems to go. Now, over the weekend, I was chatting with the AMA's PRO, and I was telling him, look, around the General Post Office in Accra, there's a huge heap of refuse. And then he told me, oh, it's routine. They come and clear it. I said, but that's the city center. The General Post Office is a tourism, enclave. You can't have rubbish sitting there
and then come and bring an excavator and do a show of it, put it on Twitter or Facebook, and tell us that you are clearing it. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
so if you agree, if AMA, for example, agrees that, look, we generate 3,000 tons of refuse every day in Accra, what they are on record per the World Bank's report to be collecting is 2,500, which means that we always have a 500-ton backlog of bola. So every day, times 365, my math is not good, but 500 tons times 365 every year. See the level amount of bola that is left in Accra alone.
Some parts of the
Talk
city.
about Takrady, talk about Kumasi, talk about wherever it is. So the problem is huge. Then you have AMA, for example, contracts 16 private contractors, J. Stanley, Wusu, Zoom Lion, all of them, to come and help them. Question, do they get their monies when they work? Because if I have excavators, if I have the pumps, if I have stuff that I'm using to go around and collect these things for you, and then I collect the rubbish, I fuel it, I take it to the landfill site, even though I believe that landfill sites are obsolete, and I take it there, and I come back and I don't get my money on time.
Then that's
how do you expect me to buy fuel, to pay my staff, to come back and do the work? So it always appears as if the contractors are not doing the work, and the people are always insulting the contractors, forgetting that it is the government that is not doing its part of the deal. If you have hired me to clear rubbish, and I clear the rubbish, and I finish and you don't pay me, what is the point?
That's why for me, it's nothing new that,
so I take it with a pinch of salt, trust me.
Governments will call these entities to come on board. Even when they hadn't called, these people were on board because it's their business, and the people who are dedicated, who desire to make waste management, give a solution to waste management. What my problem is with when the private entities do their part, like Johnny said, do you pay them? Secondly, when we go to the final disposal sites, do we have enough that if we were collecting all the 3,000 that we generate in a day, we can say very confidently that we're making sure that we get rid of it in that same day? Because at the end of the day, when you segregate waste, you put it together, you go and put it at a final site, and it's not going to go through the mechanized system it has to go through. It becomes waste in itself. It will become waste for some other people to come and exactly.
That's where the question is.
The final end point is my problem. At the end of the day, you get people even, right now we can't force those who go house to house collecting in some sort of a garbage collection van or whatever it is. Because they are also helping. But where they end up putting the rubbish becomes another source of rubbish for another collector. And then the game goes on.
You know the funny part?
I think we have to collectively sit down and find a solution, a good one. Like Johnny said, landfill sites in this day and age is certainly nothing to speak of. Who speaks of these things in these days when you've got engineers who have trained and understand what science is and how these things should be mechanized? Why are we still playing around with it?
These itinerant rubbish collectors with their tricycles, they collect it, they go and dump the rubbish anywhere. The AMA, for example, has registered them. It says it was going to regularize their business. Then I started thinking to myself, what was the AMA thinking? Because even the Zoom Lion big trucks, if I segregate my waste at home, I have plastic here, I have organic here, I have metals here. When the Zoom Lion trucks come, they put everything together. So the work I've done at home in trying to segregate my refuse to make it recycle possible is cost 90. Zoom Lion will take it to its site and then try and do the separation is done again. That's a whole lot of work. So we know what strides Zoom Lion has made in this particular direction. But the point is, how committed is the country to get these things done? We know that there are, the site between ICGC and the Korle Lagoon, the AMA tells us that it is not a rubbish dump site, but they keep putting rubbish there. And you know who puts rubbish there? These tricycles that have been registered, they go and dump the rubbish there. So if you come and you tell me that you are looking for sanitation marshals, it's been 1 year since Kofi Addo promised that it's not been done. If you tell me that private companies should come on board, are you ready to pay them? If you tell me that your sanitation officers are not enough, is that a good excuse?
Let's see what happens, Johnny. But
the whole place is dirty, Mr. President. Your dream of having Accra as the cleanest city, I tell you, it's not possible. 2 years already, it doesn't look hopeful. And when it rains, the gutters are choked, the flood is there. Mr. President, you for do something.
Let's talk about local businesses and foreign ones now. I've always been an advocate of local businesses. Now, the biggest news, I guess, is the VW.
Yeah.
We used to have a funny idea of VW when we were kids.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned VW.
A petrol car.
Yes, that petrol car comes to mind. These days, they are huge ones that they have. But Ghana setting up an automobile assembling plant, and then the great man, he calls himself the Star of Africa. Kantanka is also around. What does it mean? That he will be played out of the game?
No.
That's the argument some are making.
No.
Well, it's a fair argument to make, particularly when you haven't seen so much support go in for him from Ghana. So, I mean, if I had a business of that size, that magnitude, and over the years, I've constantly been wanting to put my vehicles out there, and I'm not getting that much support. But when a foreign investor comes, it seems easier on them. I certainly might be unhappy or worried.
Okay.
And I think these are some of the views of the man himself and also some Ghanaians. But let's step out and find out what you think as we rant with George this morning.
This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
A very good morning and welcome to Daily Rant here on New Day. We are live on DSTV channel 279. I'm George Queening, and Ghana-Germany relations have spanned for years. And the news is that the European company will be establishing a VW assembly plant in Ghana by the last quarter of 2018, and some red flags have been raised. Some think it's going to be of great disadvantage to Kantanka, but some also think there should be a merger between the two entities. But let's look at job creation. Is this not going to bring some sort of employment to some people or indigents here in Ghana? This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking.
Every nation wants to develop, and it's also a good news, a welcoming news if there is something new coming into every nation. Why not? It should come. We need them. We need them, but there are other side issues as well. Yeah, not that notwithstanding. Yeah, I don't see it to be a bad news. It's a good news, especially pertaining to our challenges as a nation.
That car has been established since God knows how many years. They've gained recognition, gained grounds everywhere. So Kantanka is just a Ghanaian company, and bringing such a company to Ghana, I think that the president is not doing us.
So why are you being a pessimist here? Just be optimistic that maybe your local company, Kantanka, can give VW that competition. And not the other way around.
When the president was a flag bearer of the MPP, he said he believes in Ghana, and he believes in the ability of a Ghanaian. Today, being the president, why VW? If you could just allow Kantanka, give Kantanka money to establish itself, and then mandate every state agency purchase their cars.
I know the police service has Kantanka.
They have 2 or 3. It's not enough.
You see, sometimes Ghanaians, we talk as if Ghana is a superpower. We've not attained that. America, China, Germany, we've not attained that status. You see, we shouldn't forget that. You see, with this VW plant they want to establish here in Ghana, it's a step in the right direction, because if you look at Kantanka, Kantanka, all his parts, he imports them. He doesn't produce them here.
No.
Is that not waste of money? And VW is establishing a plant here. He could go into negotiation with them.
Yeah, that's what people want.
Oh yeah, he could go into negotiation. He has a college board or something of that sort, I think. They could go there, learn how to build it on their own, because those facilities will bring machines and equipment that could be used to build engines and then those things needed to build a car. So this is a great advantage for Ghana, because this is more or less like we are now coming to learn, develop, and then be able to produce engines, equipment needed to build cars here in Ghana. You see, we can't use Kantaka car because the prices are high.
They are high. Because he pays taxes on the imports.
That is
so obviously, we'll translate to the price.
Exactly.
If you go to the showroom, it's very expensive. People will say it's expensive. Like, you can, get the price of a Kantaka car, equating to a Corolla car. So I'll go for Corolla because it's been tried and tested.
That is tried and tested, exactly. Kantaka car, I don't know it, fine. But I'm being a Ghanaian. I need to believe in what I have here. So I don't think this to be any problem at all.
If Kantaka believes in what he's manufacturing, he will feel like he has competition from VW. Fine, VW have been in the system over 100 years. So I think this is maybe a step in the right direction for Kantaka to even build upon its quality.
Sure.
You understand? But one thing that I'm worried about is that these manufacturing companies, they emit a lot of toxic waste. So how is it going to affect our environment and then human and then our water resources as well? So I think introduction of VW for Volkswagen in Ghana, it will benefit us in some way. But let's look at the benefits and then the demerits as well, and then let's see if we have to let them come or not.
Okay, so somewhere in June this year, they established a 20 million assembly plant in Rwanda, and it was supposed to give jobs to 1,000 people. Yeah, obviously, and so it's quite good news because maybe people will get jobs because unemployment rate is soaring each and every day. So yeah, looking at the bad side, if there is a bad side, let's look at the good side as well.
George, when I hear Ghanaians speaking like the way my friend spoke, I cry, I want to shed tears. Full, one bucket full. Is Kantaka not providing jobs?
Obviously it is.
Is it not training our youth?
Yeah.
So what's the meaning of VW coming here to set up a plant and
You don't know the agreement in entirety. Maybe they can be given tax holidays and all that. We don't know the agreement in entirety. But I know an MOU has been signed already. So by the last quarter of this year,
what does it
should
entail?
be.
You don't know the details of it. For all you know, they are even cheating us. For all you know, even light bill they won't pay. Because we need job, we need employment, we are desperate. See, what the government needs to do, set a priority right. Invest in what? In Kantaka. Let Kantaka feel like, they are doing good service to the nation. And rather than you collapsing in and bringing a multinational company to come and, cripple it. Master, this is unfair. The president is not believing in the abilities of Ghanaians.
Yeah, that it's an opinion anyway, no doubt.
What is opinion?
It's your view. Like I said in my intro, I have come to believe the man can tanker, and we shouldn't limit him only to producing the cars. The man can do a lot. There are things he can do that VW can never do, and it's been a blessing too.
But there's this thing he did about livestock, where maybe the female animal can produce more.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but then my only issue with the government is the support they give this man. It's a very difficult thing for the black man to believe in his own colleague. Even look at our national team.
That is why they are bringing VW.
It took us a long time for us to even believe
that is why they are bringing VW.
The black man can still handle the Black Stars.
What is the good news about Kantaka exporting parts, engines, bringing it just to assemble and build a car?
But one step at a time. You can't just
very good
make it happen one
that
time.
Listen to what I'm saying. Fine. And then this is an advantage where a full-fledged company, they've been in the system for a while now.
Yeah, sure.
They've been tried and tested. Their cars are all over the world.
What about a collaboration and merger between Kantaka?
No, let the people come first. Let them start.
But why won't you have that address before they come into
No, we can't have that because they have to also come and then study the way Kantaka does it. Maybe the way he assembles his car is different from how they assemble theirs.
Let's look at quality-wise.
Is it?
Why do we even purchase these home-used cars? Because they're quality.
Exactly.
And even their used cars, we even use them here for 20 years.
People buy accident ones.
And they come and fix it here. You understand?
Kantaka
wouldn't have a problem, but yes,
it's a quality car.
One thing about Africa is that the finishing is poor.
But one thing here,
Kantaka,
I'm scared.
The cars are going to be produced by either VW or whatever. Recently there was a new tax that people using Porsche cars are going to
Yeah. Don't pay
This VW cars.
VW, they are all luxurious cars. You have the Golf and all. Those are sedans and all that. They are not really luxurious cars, right?
George, the president should make it a policy to protect the local industries in Ghana. The banks have collapsed. Yes, the banks have collapsed. We are on our heads. We are crying.
No,
now you want to collapse.
I don't think this VW deal was to collapse.
That's what the automobile company.
No, you don't see it because you don't have foresight. You don't see it because you can't see from afar.
So, for instance, okay, if you had met Angela Merkel one-on-one, what would you have told her in terms of, bringing this assembly plant to Ghana? What would you have told her?
Angela, is this only the country that can bring assembly plant? Please take it elsewhere.
It's working for Rwanda. It's working for Rwanda.
Rwandans
cannot afford South Africa.
Rwandans cannot afford. I cannot afford VW because they are even complaining that it is higher than
giving jobs to some people.
Oh, as for the jobs will collapse because people cannot afford it. As I look into the camera, Kantaka, I'm crying for you because your business is coming to collapse just like the other banks. So the government should protect. The government should protect Katanka. Mandate every institution to go in for their cars.
Then you have to save and buy Kantaka car.
In bulk purchase, rather than individual buying one.
You'll be doing this. And then you have the advantage to buy car. You tell you I want Corolla. Or V8.
Even the khaki or jeans is even wearing energy.
This one is Kataka wear. I believe in Kataka.
Okay, so
you'll be doing this. The money you tell us you prefer V8.
So
V8 over Kataka. You will tell me. I know you. You will tell me.
He was telling that
it's a misreaction, I must say. And then one thing the public wants to be done is government should put in measures that will ensure indigenous automobile companies, thrive and be successful in the country, I must say. So let's know what you also think watching home. Just log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's News on TV3, and on Twitter, it's our News TV3. We came to you from Nima here at Accra. Thanks for watching, and keep watching today.
This is what it
Welcome back and good morning once again. If you just joined us, time to take a look at what's on the pages of the newspapers. You've seen them already. The president's trip to China getting a lot of ink this morning. We'll take a look at that. The NDC over the weekend elected new executives for the next 4 years, I guess. And also the issue about sanitation on almost every page of the newspapers I have with me this morning. My guest, Member of Parliament for the Efutu constituency, a member of the NPP, Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin is here. Good morning. Hope you're doing great.
Morning, I'm fine.
And Willie is doing well.
Let's
quickly talk about, even before I introduce my next guest, the University of Education, Widiba, new Vice Chancellor. He's in to push the university to the right level it wants to go.
Well, clearly, he's demonstrated willingness to deliver for the purpose of ensuring that student aspirations are met. And one good thing again is that he's ready to listen to the community. I've always talked about local content, corporate social responsibility. Without these, the community will be left behind. We need an environment where students would rely on and consistently make University of Education Winneba as a university of choice. I have no doubt that the very respected Reverend Father would live up to that expectation. I mean, I also would want to urge all to cooperate with him and the governing council. It doesn't matter your political persuasion. The most important thing is that there is a governing council with a mandate to prepare the university, ensure that students get the necessary support and lecturers as well. So let's all support the reforms that he's bringing on board, the decisions of the governing council. And of course, there may be some challenges here and there. I would also urge the new leadership management to ensure a father for all posture and also ensure that at least all equal opportunities avail to all members of the university community. I'm sure that with these, things will be better than before. But at least
You see him as the right person to lead the university, I guess.
He's a Catholic priest,
right?
A disciplinarian, for that matter, well educated, the most experienced professor on campus now. He's been a provost, he's been a dean, he's been an HOD. He's spent over 20 years at the university, and there's no doubt on my mind about Father Afro-Broni's competence and ability to lead. What he requires is the cooperation of all, irrespective of political or interest and all that, so that he'll be able to deliver. By the way, students sent me a text message yesterday that they want Wi-Fi to be available on all campuses.
Okay.
The distance learning students also want computers and learning materials to be delivered on time. So that is their expectation.
Okay. Let's see how that goes. We'll be following closely that. Let me also welcome the former Member of Parliament for Ablekuma Central. Over the weekend, he managed to secure his ambition to become the Secretary of the NDC, Greater Accra Region. Theophilus Tetechai is here. Good morning and congratulations for the victory there. The election saw a mixture of old and new executives. Good for the party?
Very good for the party. First of all, let me say good morning to our cherished viewers, and also to thank all the delegates in the Greater Accra region for the honor done us. Actually, they've given us a job to do, and we want to assure them that we will live up to expectation.
I'm grateful. We'll take a look at the NDC elections later on. Now, the president's trip to China, I told you earlier, has a lot of ink this morning. But let's take a look at this story from a fallout from that trip. If you take a look at the Daily Guide, let me use this one, page 2, it says that Nana seals $2 billion Chinese deal. President Akufo-Addo's maiden visit to China has brought dividends as the country is said to benefit from a whopping $2 billion to be used for infrastructural projects across the country. The Sino-Sure Framework Agreement signed by the two countries would enable Sino Hydro Corporation, a subsidiary of Power China, to finance and actively participate in the construction of major roads and railways in the country. And so the agreement is being signed. We're told that a lot more is coming in. This agreement has attracted a lot more I guess, commentary, if you remember, its issues in Parliament. Let me start the conversation. It's been sealed, despite the fact that some concerns were raised. We're told that the beneficiaries are the people of Ghana. Infrastructure project expected to come out of this $2 billion deal.
Well, right. Let me correct a certain unfortunate impression. The opposition NDC, and for that matter, the minority in Parliament, did not oppose this deal.
Right.
They never opposed it. They expressed their own concerns, but supported it. So we approved it in Parliament by consensus.
Right.
That must be well cleared so that nobody would have the impression that the opposition opposed it. At least they saw the good thing in this whole thing deal. Now, I think it's a very positive step. Positive step in the sense that we've been talking about loan. For the first time, we are looking at a structured arrangement where it's not going to be a loan per se on our records, but we're going to have value addition. I've always had problems with Ghana Bauxite and the way they deal with the government of Ghana. They export the bauxite. We don't even know the value. If you go into Bank of Ghana, you wouldn't know how much Ghana Bauxite sells its ore per ton. Meanwhile, they sell the ore to their parent company in China. And we don't know the price. However, with this new arrangement where the bauxite is going to be processed into aluminium, we know the international value per ton. Therefore, you'll be able to match it with whatever investment is going to be made. You're going to create employment. You're going to create opportunities for those in the value chain. So that is the difference. The unemployment situation in the country is alarming. And it is not so because of today. It's been so because of yesterday. So the challenge is to put in the necessary support systems to create opportunity for people to get employed in the private sector. And to me, any effort that is made at ensuring that the private sector get the needed support, where somebody would complete a university, polytechnic, or finish NVTI, and would begin dreaming of having his own business, that is the day I'm waiting for. But not where they will be moving from one ministry to the other, hoping that government would employ them. No, it is that which is creating a problem for us. Look, without the private sector opening up, I'm sorry, all the social intervention programs will come to nothing. We've introduced free SHS to take care of our educational needs. People who could otherwise not afford are getting the opportunity. Government boldly took a decision to get electricity tariffs reduced. And when I checked, 17% for household, 30% reduction for industry. The aim is to give opportunity for industry to make savings and to grow. But if we do not go a step further to open up the private sector with such a booster, there will be a problem. So whether in opposition or in the civil society arena, this government initiative, that 2 billion structured facility to support infrastructure, ought to be commended, ought to be supported, and I'm sure that within the next 2 to 5 years, Ghanaians will see the dividends. We really need it.
Even before I go to another teacher, some have suggested that, I mean, you're getting 2 billion from the Chinese, and so you're handing over our bauxite. They feel that we can support local businesses to do same and perhaps make more money.
How do you support?
In the bauxite area, give it to local businesses to mine the bauxite and not the Chinese. Because they say that you're taking 2 billion and handing over our bauxite, but you don't even know how much bauxite we have down there.
Okay, right, let me attempt another explanation. The bauxite is going to be mined.
Right.
You are not going to give it to them to mine and export. The difference here is that there's going to be processing of the ore to be sold. Like oil, we know the value of a barrel of oil on the international market. So if you have invested 10 million in road, we know the costs for a kilometer of road. So nobody can create any loot and share there. Nobody can inflate the price there, because we know the standard value for a kilometer of road. So if there is any hanky-panky there, somebody will detect it. So once we know that you invested 10 million on road, the ore has been mined and processed. We know the value at which it is being sold. Nobody can shortchange anybody. Rather, this will be a positive offtake for the Ghanaian businesses. For instance, if I'm into the transport or logistics business, I would take advantage in the value chain, as in transporting the ore from the mining area or the site to the factory. There, I will get my money. If you have other social services or other support services that you provide, you get the opportunity there. So it is not about, oh, we are giving out our ore. That is a propaganda bit. But in reality, any sincere Ghanaian who would want to study this will tell you that, look, it is better for us. Because you are not going to now say that, oh, you've given the ore, you've taken money, and the person is just mining and mining and mining. That is not the case.
I'm grateful. Honorable Tetteh, so this is the argument, and he said that it was approved by consensus, but the minority raised some issues. The deal has been sealed. What do you make of it?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me commend Honorable Afenyo Makin for telling Ghanaians the truth about what took place in Parliament on this particular deal. Because some newspapers in this country have sought to denigrate the NDC as a political party. And even not even the NDC, but even some members of their political party telling Ghanaians that we don't want this country to develop. The question is, under which area was Ghana's development enhanced? Under the era of John Dramani Mahama. So the NDC is a government that believes in infrastructural development. And today I'm very happy that he has been very honest to the good people of this country by telling them that the NDC as a political party supported this deal. Secondly, the only thing that the NDC is raising questions on is the fact that this deal came to Parliament under certain conditions. And the conditions under which this agreement came, if you look at the way Parliament undertakes its obligations, it came in the form of a loan, okay? So what the minority sought to raise was that if you are saying this is a barter, okay, I don't know the definition of barter, but what I know that in the barter system, it is not money that is exchange for goods and services, no, but you exchange goods and what? Services. And then if you go to the Loan Act, that was the process under which the minister
agreement came
into
Parliament.
office. It means, therefore, that this amount of money is going to add to the already burdening debt that the NPP administration, within its almost 2 years in office, has added to our debt stock. And because they feel adding this $2 billion to the already over 50 billion that they've already taken is going to raise a lot of hue and cry. And then it's also going to affect our GDP
debt to GDP
ratio. So to avoid that, they are telling us that it is a barter. But in essence, the truth of the matter is that it came to Parliament under a loan agreement. Under a loan agreement. So what the NDC...
You mean the process through which it came to Parliament
yes.
suggested it's a loan agreement?
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, what the NDC sought to do was to have some form of clarification with the IMF as to how they regard this particular deal. And what is wrong about this? That is all. Nobody is against any resources going to be raised for infrastructural development. And I'm happy that he just made it clear to the good people of this country. Only what the NDC members of Parliament or the minority sought to do was to inquire whether this amount will be added to our debt stock. What is wrong about this? So thank you very much for telling Ghanaians the truth.
Right, you know, I call him my diplomatic propagandist. You in one breath. You are in one breath.
I don't want us to
in support
go back
of,
to.
No, we're not going back. But
yes.
just to clarify, yes. You are in Parliament. You did not oppose it. You supported it.
Yeah.
But outside Parliament, you carry on your mischief of misleading people. Now, the matter he raised was well settled.
Or loan?
Yes, was well settled in the Dr. Isibe Yeboah case against ECG and 3 others in the car power matter at the Supreme Court. Your concerns, whether or not a transaction, the nature of which government had committed to amounted to a loan, and that, you know, whether or not it was part of public debt, it's a matter that has been settled. Right. This government even went a step further, in all sincerity, to even bring the matter to Parliament. In your case, the famous Car Power case.
Okay.
You did an undertaking and failed. Hold on. No, I didn't interrupt you. We are just making a point. No, right. Also for the education of the viewing public.
But is it wrong for them to question the process under which this agreement came? I mean, if you take a look at your work in Parliament, the article under which this agreement came talks about loans. That's one issue they raised.
No.
Right.
No.
Right.
Under that article, 181, we have commercial agreement, international commercial agreement.
So
it is not. It can have other. If it's an international transaction, listen, international transaction.
Right.
And
I want to.
No, can I make it?
It's just going round.
No, I'm not. A distinction. Listen, I've made the point. Listen. You had a CDB arrangement. You could have. I want to make a point to you. Okay. Right. NDC had a CDB arrangement. They could have structured the facility in the form that this one took, but they decided to make it a loan. All right. And within 3 years, pre-disbursement failures alone led their government into paying $300 million to the Chinese. It's the way you structure the facility. You can decide, hold on, you can decide to take a loan. Hold on, right. You can go for an LC.
It's a simple matter, please.
I thought we are starting on a good note. You can go for a loan. Hold on. You can go for a loan to establish an LC. You can go for a loan.
This is
draw it down. Am I making a point?
You are not.
I need to give you an example so that you understand.
The question we are saying that, for instance, by the fact that it's about a year, we are paying something upfront even before we get it.
Listen,
all those were issues that
you are looking at the structure. Please, you are not to ask.
Yes, you are not to ask questions.
I need to explain to you, and if you want to understand the explanation, you pay attention to me.
Yeah, that's why.
The point is that you are engaging in a structured transaction. The nature of it is such that you are not required to be paying month-on-month repayment. However, you are saying that the facility you are acquiring, it is going to be structured in a way that the returns will be paying for itself.
Great.
So it is not part of your public debt.
But then the question is, what kind of barter agreement asks you to pay upfront before you?
Hold on, upfront in what? Upfront in
because
what?
we are paying. I think we're paying several issues. One, there is
can you? No, I answer that. Go ahead.
We're paying. How do you call it? When you taking a loan, there is something you pay before you.
Arrangement fee and all.
Yes, all that. We're also paying a couple of things. I'm trying to quickly get them.
It is a loan.
So the issue was that if it's a barter agreement, why do you pay all this? Because it suggests
that is the loan structure.
Paid only
that is the
loans.
Loan structure.
That was the agreement.
Right.
That is the structure.
Can I finish?
Quickly, I don't want us to.
The transaction is.
We are paying transaction fee. One of them.
Of course, because it's a transaction.
And then we're also supposed to pay.
It doesn't make it a loan simplicity the way they want to understand it.
Okay.
And it's a
I'm grateful. Let's move on.
Don't confuse.
I think we have gone.
I was going to help by telling you. Right. If you allow me, you can go for a loan.
I am grateful.
You can go for a loan. Establish an LC and be paying money because you've drawn down. You can also get a bank to issue you a bank guarantee.
It's a loan.
Which case
I am very grateful. I want to move on. Let's go to the Daily Graphic this morning.
Because
if you pay attention,
that we supported it. Let's end it.
But you are doing your mischief.
Which one?
This is your mischief. Which one? You support
and then do mischief.
Let's start this way.
Why did you write
Daily
a letter
Graphic.
to IMF?
Honorable Afenya Market.
But he is asking me the question.
I have moved on.
Are you sure?
Yes,
he has not.
No, he's not supposed to be asking questions. So I have moved
then
on.
Stop him.
Daily
If
Graphic.
he asks, I will answer him.
Daily Graphic this morning says that 5 stalwarts defeated in the NDC regional elections. Jifa Tivo, Yamin, Aquinas, Tawia Boating. It's not a gun. And Big Edu. That's the story.
Big Edu, the contractor?
Yes, I guess so. I'll need to take it, read a story to know if he is the person. But the name is Big Edu.
Western region, do you mean?
I need to. I'll check out in the course of the conversation. Honorable Tetechai, the election so far, as we've seen, which direction is the party going?
Thank you very much. As I said earlier on, the elections has been very successful. We commend our delegates for the good work that they have done. We commend our Council of Elders, our national executives, our regional executives, our constituency executives, and our polling station executives. For me, it has been a very successful Congress. Yes, with Congresses, there are certain challenges. But as to the conduct of the elections itself, it went on very, very well in all the regions. And as of now, no media house has reported any display of people not being happy with the results as a result of maybe rigging machinery or so on and so forth. Everything was done in a very transparent manner. As to the executives elected, there has been mixed reactions. People felt their candidates didn't win, but definitely in the contest, you have definitely people coming out as what? Winners. But at the end of the day, it is the substance, what the people are going to do in terms of their competencies. That is what matters. And for me, the blend of the old and new is a very good thing for us. Because if you are not even happy with the performance of the party in the last elections, it doesn't mean that all the executives within the various branches, constituencies, regions, and at the national level did not live up to expectation. So by the choice of our delegates, it clearly indicates that they have actually assessed the various aspirants and they have decided those that they feel can help the NDC win 2020. So for us, it is a very successful Congress. And we thank all our delegates for the time, the energy. You know, people have to travel from long distances. And at the end of the day, we are very happy as a party.
The Daily Guide is reporting that Mahama boys are flawed. And if you take a look at the story, it suggests that these candidates who have lost support the former president. And so it makes, as the paper put it, has come back not too sure. That's what the paper is suggesting.
It is very interesting that the Daily Guide newspaper knows in the heart of all NDC members, those who are for Mahama, those who are for Gbagbin, those who are for Ecospio, and so on and so forth. I believe Daily Guide, the editor, is a representative of God. But I can tell you, I have been with you all these years in this studio. Haven't I been defending the policies, the achievement of John Mahama? So whom am I? Am I John Mahama boy or Gbagbin boy or Spielgaber's boy? This is just to create a negative impression around His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. This tells you the fear that the MPP is having as a result of his comeback But what I am happy about is the fact that as a party and as newly elected executives, we are going to ensure that all aspirants are going to be given that level playing field. What matters is the fact that it is the delegates who are going to decide. But let me tell the MPP, it's too early. The fear that they are having is too early. More is yet to come. And it tells you that they themselves have realized that they are non-performing. They are not performing. Right. And the good people of this country are are crying for a savior. So when you see these stories, these stories are only stories that people who are God's angels can tell.
Okay.
But not human beings like us, mortals on earth.
I'm grateful. Honorable Afenyo-Markin, I'm sure you followed the results. Of course, the Big Edu is indeed the Big Edu, the Western Regional Chairman, Michael Edu.
You see the fear. That was why he was consistent. Is it Edu? Is it the contractor?
Honorable Afenyo-Markin, is the MPP afraid?
More is to come.
Okay. First of all, I was asking about Big Edu.
Yeah, that's him. That's him. The former Western Regional Chairman.
Yeah, I know Big Edu when I was a presiding member.
Right.
I mean, he was doing some roads in,
Big Edu
in my constituency. So that's why I wanted to be double sure as to whether he is a Big Edu the contractor.
It's not
nothing more. But by the way, we are a year and a half in government. For the first time in the history of our body politics, we are having a government that is keeping to its campaign promise, its manifesto promise. And I can say, for the verification of even our opponents, that so far, every commitment made in the manifesto, in one way or the other, we've seen performance, we've seen the realization of these commitments. The free SHS, which our opponent doubted, day one, NANADO did not defer the implementation of it. Today, to get it sustained, the double track policy has been added to take care of all the issue of people not getting available facilities and all that, and also to create the opportunity for more teachers to be engaged. You come to the reduction of utility tariffs, in particular electricity. We were told boldly that the way the economy was being run, the way the system, the cost of generating power had gotten to, we could not have any more reduction. This was told us by President Mahama. But what has, please, can you keep quiet? Today you've been very unruly. Now, for the first time, we have had 30% reduction for industry users, 17.5% for residential users, and other special low tariff customers are enjoying 25%. Mining, 10%. Were we not told by the NDC that we could not, the government could not reduce electricity tariffs?
What is the effect of these?
The effect of it is that more money in the pocket of Ghanaians.
Really?
Because you would have paid more. Why? If you spend 200 Ghana cedis a week and it is being reduced to 170, are you not saving? Meanwhile, the education of your wards are also being borne by the government. In spite of these social intervention programs, government has reduced electricity tariff, which was a big burden. If you come to industry, 30% reduction, and you are saying these are not gains because industry is suffering. So if the government, in spite of all the challenges, has been able to reduce it by 30%, you should commend the government. Now, let's come to another social intervention. By the way, I've said it and I'll repeat it today. The NDC in its 8-year rule, I'm not talking John Mahama 4 years, the NDC's 8-year rule could not successfully introduce, implement a social intervention program. It could not. And I would want them to give me an example.
They have always argued it.
No worry, they should. It's an opportunity again for them.
Okay.
But I am saying, at the risk of being repetitive, that the NDC could not introduce and implement successfully a social intervention program. We did in the Kufuor's 8 years. We have once again, and it's on and on. Now let's come to NABCO. Kufuor introduced the youth employment program to address the unemployment at the post-SS level or post-technical level, or for those who could not even go to secondary school. Now Nana Addo has taken a full grab at the graduate unemployment situation. Instead of sitting at home and having zero, NABCO has been introduced and it's been rolled out successfully, and people who otherwise would have stayed at home will now get the opportunity at least to have a breather. The national identification card, which they could not implement, has finally taken off. If you go to the cocoa sector, the hand pollination which was introduced, I watched a documentary on TV, one of the news networks, and I was amazed. The testimony from our farmers, the planting for food and jobs. These are measures that are being put in place to address unemployment situation, to give opportunity. I am saying that for NDC to sit and say that, oh, NPP panics upon hearing a certain name, well, if you tickle yourself, what would you expect?
The argument is that all these that you have,
you would
really,
laugh.
the effect isn't there.
No problem.
One argument that if you reduce electricity tariffs and fuel prices are going up, so I get some hole here, and then I go to put that money.
Okay,
here.
right.
So that is the argument.
Very well. When during the NDC era, the prices, the tariffs were increased, whereas fuel prices were also going up. So Ghanaians were worse off. All right? Today, I'm happy with your example. The issue of allowing the market variables to drive prices of petroleum products has been an established policy since Kufuor's time. And they went by it, and we are going by it. However, the advantage here is that government has taken a bold decision to look at some taxes embedded in the utility by ECG and saying that, look, we can give a breather. So whereas industry is enjoying 30% rebate, household users are also enjoying 17.5% rebate, which is better off compared to the previous arrangement. In this case, in this case, right?
Products of these industries going down.
You have asked.
If that is the
case,
right,
you have asked the question. I need to answer you. In this case, at least, for the basic question you asked, you have realized that somebody who was paying more here and more there would have had a lesser amount being paid. Now, on the issue of shouldn't we see
prices of products dropping?
Certainly,
if industries are making gains or paying less.
It was like when we had VAT. When we had VAT, the previous arrangement, the input and output, where people would charge VAT, all right, and will not fully account for it. Then it is the attitude. It is you and I. Why? Can government ever force anybody?
The policies should drive this.
Exactly.
So the policies are not working.
Why? If in reality, right, let's be honest and face the honest truth. If today you are buying at 1 cedi and by policy, I'm able to ensure that you are able to buy it at 50 pesos, hasn't there been a change? If somebody else decides to look in the other direction, government cannot go and force the person to do otherwise.
All right.
So let them debate us on real issues.
Let me bring him in.
No, I've not congratulated them on their elections.
I will get you the chance to do that.
Oh, but I thought I would have to complete it. Let me finish. Let me finish.
We'll run out of time. I'll get you the chance.
Very well.
Okay.
No problem.
I'm going to come in. He's raised a couple of
we
are getting ready to wrap up.
These days, when issues are raised, the MPP normally sought to answer their own questions. It was a simple thing on our Congress. But then it is now about policy, so we'll go into the policies.
Let me answer the Congress issue.
No, you had it wrong. You had it wrong. You had it wrong. If we're to be an example, you've already failed. Okay, let's continue. Go ahead. Look, when we talk of social intervention programs, it is not about handing money to members of or the citizens of this country. Providing that infrastructure that will enable them to lead quality life. Under the NDC, if you care to know.
Please, we are talking about a social intervention.
Please
allow me. But you looked in my direction.
But that doesn't mean you react.
Give us an example.
Look, there are numerous hospitals, clinics.
Kufuor didn't construct the hospitals. Please. Kufuor didn't construct them.
Look, you see, as a result of your understanding of social policy programs, that is why I'm bringing this.
It's subjective.
You know, hold on. These are meant to ensure that our rural communities will have access to quality health. The schools that we put up.
Critical intervention, please. You are also deviating.
Critical
intervention.
You asked him.
But you know.
No,
but he didn't stop.
You asked him not to.
He didn't stop.
So don't do same. Honorable Afenyo-Markin, don't do same.
What are you doing now?
Honorable Afenyo-Markin, please don't do same. Please go ahead.
Look,
we're wrapping.
Look, the establishment of the senior high schools, the day schools that we put up today, that is what is sustaining our senior high school free education. That is the vision of John Dramani Mahama. And it is that vision that is now making them to panic.
Is it where he's going?
But what is your problem? Afenyo-Markin, what is your problem?
You are still in a comfortable league.
Gentlemen, I am grateful. We'll have to wrap up the conversation.
Our drivers are working for petrol stations. They cannot afford the fuel. Not even taxi or trotro drivers. You and I. Today.
What of yesterday?
Yesterday
they were working for their pocket.
Look, it was comfortable.
Oh, really?
Afenyo,
I see.
Go to town.
All right.
And here,
I'm grateful.
What Ghanaians are going
through. Issues
and
of
you
sanitation.
understand.
I'm grateful. Honorable Afenyo-Markin, we are run out of time.
You decided to talk about policy.
So when you were in government, it was better. When you were in government,
is now the secretary of the NDC.
They will tell you
that it was better.
Under the Mahama.
I'm grateful for your time with us.
Not under NDC administration.
We're going to talk about sanitation up next. Good morning once again. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Now, talking about sanitation. Sanitation is most critical to every country. In fact, the President of the Republic has a mandate. He says, well, in the next 4 years or at the closure of his tenure, we should have Accra as the cleanest city in Africa. Is it possible? Well, the coalition of, companies, waste management companies are up, to the task. But the point is, how many years do we need to clean the city of Accra? Being joined this morning by Dr. Yahya Yakubu. He is the Acting Director of Research, Innovation and Development of Zoomlion Ghana Limited. And one of the members of the coalition, also being joined by Sophia Lisa, Group Head of Communication, Josport Group of Companies. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And how's the Monday morning going?
It's been great.
Number one, let me ask candidly, and I'll start with you, Sophia, is the President's dream of cleaning Accra by the closure of his tenure a possibility?
Thank you, Johnny. What I will say is, a clean Accra is possible.
Okay.
It is very possible. But the question is, are we ready? Do we have what it takes to make it possible?
You tell me.
There are a lot of players when it comes to sanitation anywhere in the world. So there is the government bit.
Okay.
There is the role of the private sector.
Okay.
And there is the role of the individual citizen of the nation.
Okay.
Now, all this put together is what works together to get a clean
Let's start from government. Government, for example, created the Ministry for Sanitation. There's also within our MMDAs sanitation officers and all of that.
Yes.
We talked about sanitation marshals who will be built up. So government is doing what it has to do, no?
Thank you very much. Government is doing that now. That is one big achievement that should be commended.
Okay.
That is the creation of the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources. What does it do? It gives focus to sanitation.
Okay.
It means that now sanitation is not just going to be hidden in other things. Yes,
Okay.
it is a multifaceted issue that must be tackled as such.
Right.
But giving it a whole ministry gives it focus.
Okay.
But the question is, are they being resourced enough to do what they have to do?
Right.
Now, district assemblies, by their mandate, are supposed to be providing sanitation in their various assemblies.
Okay.
Now, do they have the resources to do that? You know, it's beautiful to have all these, you know, and then we have the sanitation marshals or the Sama people.
Okay.
What are they to do? Is it just education? To be honest with you, all these are beautiful.
Right.
But if the right policies are not put in place, and I believe Ghana, we have some of the most beautiful policies
Absolutely.
when it comes to any area or any discipline. If we do not enforce, I don't know how long ago you were born, but I remember there was a time in Ghana that circle was so clean.
The Salifwa Mankwa
Salifwa
days.
Mankwa. Why? Why was it that clean? Because somebody decided to be a police. Not just say that, oh, you haven't done well, so please. No, people were being punished.
Right.
In countries where, if you go to the Rwandas, you go to the Singapores and other countries where sanitation is taken seriously and people are having their clean environment that we all yearn to get, what they are doing is that they have bylaws that is being enforced, that they are ensuring that if, and some of them, it's sports fine.
Right.
So by all means, it works.
Doc, let me come to you. Thank you, Sophie. Let me come to you, Doc. So, Doc, you are in charge of research, innovation, and development. Sophie talks about the role of government. Let's talk about the role of waste collectors. Of course, you are one of the 16 that Accra Metropolitan Assembly has engaged, for example. What role should you play? The AMA says they generate 3,000 tons of refuse in Accra. They're only able to collect 2,500. There's always a backlog of 500. And you are in charge of collection. What's your role?
As part of our role, that is what we also on Friday. We are still building our capacity to ensure that our mandate is actually carried out effectively. So our role as part of the contractors within the system is to make sure that areas we are asked to manage, the waste there is effectively collected and sent to appropriate places for disposal so that it doesn't become a problem for citizens.
Right.
So as part, we also do a lot of research.
Okay.
And we try to find out the modern ways of actually handling the waste. And if you are aware, or if you may also be, if you are part of our strategy, if you have been listening to what, or if you have been taking part in our activities, you would know that we have a facility that actually takes part of a fraction of the waste. That is the compost plant, as part of our strategy of driving value from the waste that is generated. Also, we have other interventions that we are going to roll out, and they will also include...
You are in charge of innovation.
Yes, police.
And which would encompass recycling, for example. Plastics are a bigger chunk of our refuse in this country. What's the plan? Because if I segregate my plastic, my organic, my metals or bottles at home, your tanks come, they pick everything and bump it into one. You take it to your site and then you disengage them and start the recycling. Is that not too much work?
It is. We are getting there. Gradually, we'll go into the segregation, as you said, source separation. It will be done, but it's with time. But at the moment, we have a plastic recycling plant. It's called UPPR, where we recycle plastic. And also, like I said, the bins that we use or we give the household to receive the waste, we have a plant that is also able to manufacture or mold them. So we are moving on gradually. And as our Chief Executive Chairman said, would need the support of everybody.
Sophie, so how do we draw the public along? We've talking about governments.
Yes.
We're talking about you know, the waste collectors. How do we draw the people along? Because eventually they are the ones who litter.
They are the ones that litter. So education, education, education. Now, our executive chairman, Dr. Joseph Tseng-Japan, has something he says, and that is so true. He says sanitation is a culture. Okay. Waste is practical. Why? Because we have to build that culture of sanitation. I have to have it within me that I don't want a dirty environment. Growing up in our villages, you wake up in the morning, you sweep. Yeah. Okay? In the afternoon, you come back from school, you are asked to sweep because leaves and others are falling. Yeah. And in those areas, if you drive through any of our rural areas, you see that the place is neat. Yeah. But we come to the city, and we forget where we came from. And so we decide that, oh, let me litter. So in the morning, these women, women and men go to sweep the streets, and then people like us, well-suited and nicely dressed, will drink cocoa in a rubber and just throw it anyhow. And then we say, oh, but that is why you are there. You see, the public must be made to understand that the only way we can achieve that cleaner city thing is for them to...
We're around the 7th dirtiest country in the world. That's not good. How do we change that narrative?
Okay, that narrative came about, let me correct this. Right. It was based on the disposal of fecal waste. Okay, open defecation. Open defecation, liquid waste and all. But even that one, Zoomlion has come in. What we have done is that, I don't know if you remember the Lavender Hill. I do. It's a 100-year-old problem. I do. But today, we have a sewage system.
Mayor Van der Poy,
So today, that narrative should change. But our people should learn to keep our environment clean. We shouldn't just litter anyhow.
Right.
Doc, if I may add something to the attitudinal change. Just yesterday, I was driving behind a gentleman in a very nice Hyundai white car. And just closer to the intersection when he was turning, he threw out the plastic bag. Oh. Now the mindset we have is that it's no more with me, so I'm free. But we forget that we don't cultivate crops in our rooms. We sit outside and we eat. Yeah. And we still behave this way. So we have a lot to do to help the government as well as whoever is charged with the responsibility of managing waste to achieve what that's supposed to.
So let me ask you then, we've talked about the role of private waste collectors, but what exactly moving forward is the plan? That's what I want to know. I'm curious. Because if I gathered my refuse, put it in my collection bin, put it at my gate, hoping for Zoomlion, Jospon, or J. Stanley Owusu, or Jakura, all of them to come pick it up, and they're not picking it up, then I'll be tempted to give it to the itinerant rubbish collectors, and it becomes a problem. What is the plan moving forward?
You see, the challenge is that, yes, there is the need for receptacles at vantage points.
Right.
Some of the things, when it comes to collecting waste in the homes, it's easy. But when it comes to the public centers, it is important that we have receptacles.
Why don't we have them? Why don't we have
them?
We
used to have them.
You can walk 300 meters.
We used to have them. But some of them were bastardized or just destroyed. And then we are, you know, as a nation, we don't have a culture of maintenance. We don't. There is a lot of cultural change that has to be done.
How many years do we need to clean Ghana? You are the expert, tell me.
It shouldn't be years. It's just once we get it right, we get our attitude and everything right, we should be able to do it. Because it's, you see, waste is a daily thing. So you can't say that we have finished today. Okay. That whatever facilities or structures or strategies we put in place should be a daily thing that if today it is clean, by tomorrow it should be clean. Right. I can't do it today and say, oh, I'm done. No, you can't be done. Waste is a daily thing. Okay. You know, so the strategies should be such that it should be something that is facing us every single day.
I see 500 on the front pages. 500, what do you call it? 500 new tracks are being pushed into the system. Sorry, by Zoomlion. Is that the solution? And if you like, if you are drawing from the experience from Singapore, like you mentioned, is that the solution?
It is part of the solution. It's a major part of the solution because we need those logistics to collect the waste to the final disposal point. But even before they collect, there should be a way where we clean wherever we are putting it. So what we brought is actually skip trucks. They have the containers that we put in public places. Designated,
the sanitary sites.
Yes, designated by the assemblies.
Right.
And when they're full, then the trucks will come and pick it and take it to either the transfer station, or to the final disposal site.
Johnny,
so it's major part of it.
Yeah, Doc.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I know and I'm aware that you're always first in the news.
Right.
And best
in
the
entertainment.
Absolutely. Okay, whichever. We are also first when it comes to this, and then best when it comes to that. Recently, some MMDAs, that is Metropolitan Municipal and District Assemblies, were created. And these are entities, or these are areas that we have populations, and they'll be generating waste. So we want to make sure that they start very well. And waste management is one of the core responsibilities of the assembly.
So that's why you
want
want
to move with them.
We want to move
with them.
So
we are first always.
Wow. I like the foresight. Now, as we were wrapping up, finally, your closing thoughts. And in doing this, maybe you'd want to look out there, that's your camera, and tell the public something. Somebody who is eating right now and hoping that he will go and toss the thing away. What's your message for that person?
Thank you. Our message is simple. Accra, a clean Accra is possible. 1. 2, waste management is a shared responsibility. 3, every citizen has a role to play. Please, when you create waste, please do not litter. Please do not litter. Please do not litter. Put your waste in a bin. Get yourself a bin and use a bin, and we will be able to achieve the vision of the president by the time of his
Absolutely. Dr. Yaya Yakubu.
Yeah, we have a lot of bins that we are about giving out to households. 1 million we are starting with, and we're hoping that when we start, the households or the public will receive them. Another thing I want to appeal to government on is funding for waste management.
Do they pay you your monies when you collect
not even in that area. When it comes to investment in the waste management sector, it's non-existent. If you go for a loan to probably manufacture vehicles, you easily get. But when I go for a loan to go and manage waste, I mean,
the facilities are not there.
Exactly. So we need this support to continue to do what.
But if you are doing all this work, government, it should be easier for government to say, come and collect the money.
I guess that's why we are doing this.
Anyway, I thank you very much. Dr. Yaya Yakubu is Director of Research, Innovation and Development at Zoomlion Ghana Limited. Also, Sophia Lee Sash is Group Head of Communication, Jospon Group of Companies. They are part of the coalition of waste collectors or managers in Ghana. And they are moving towards achieving the president's dream of having Accra as the cleanest by the close of his tenure.
Welcome back. Time now to talk about Mission. Don't forget, by courtesy of Star Ghana, Mission is brought to you by the European Union, Danida, and UKA. This morning, we're talking about issues of gender equality. We're talking about education. We're talking about our culture. Now, Ghana has gone far in enactment of laws that seek the interests of the vulnerable, the socially excluded, and the citizenry as a whole. But implementing these laws have become a challenge. Now, those were the words of the UN Resident Coordinator, Christine Evans-Clark, as she interacted with our international desk reporter, Natalie Ford.
Nobody here knocking at my door. This is what it feels like.
What are your fond memories of the late Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan?
First met Mr. Annan in Bangkok. He had come to Thailand when he was Secretary General to bestow a prize for development on the King of Thailand. And he took the time to meet all of us working in the UN in Bangkok. It's a large hub for the United Nations. And what I remember is that that had been a very hard year. There had been some hard lessons drawn from what happened in Rwanda, and there had been the bombing in Iraq. He had lost friends. And what I remember is this, how he handled some of the difficult things with such grace and determined to learn lessons from them that he could turn into making the institution of the United Nations better. he took responsibility, and then he helped us be better. I think that's very impressive for all of us who work in the United Nations. So when I came here, he had been invited to give a lecture on development and democracy ahead of the 2016 presidential elections. And I remember being so honored to say that I had met him when I was working in the UN, and that it was such an honor to be here to welcome him home. That was really such a special moment. I think he was very interested in the work of the UN in Ghana, keen to give me some good advice, and always in a very encouraging way. And I found that very helpful. I found hard to believe and wanted to confirm, was hoping it was one of those things that's a rumor and wasn't true, but of course it was confirmed that it had happened. You know, we were expecting him to be here in Ghana at this time for the inauguration of his successor as Chancellor of the University of Ghana a couple of weeks ago. And then just this week, he had expected to help open a regional conference on road safety and urban mobility. And he had spoken to me about that last December over tea, you know, how important it was to reduce mortality on the roads in Ghana, and the difficult nature of that, what needed to be done as far as the rules and the training. And it was just something, you know, rather simple. You think of road safety compared to some of the difficult peace and war things that he has dealt with over his career. But it was something important to him, that the roads should be safer in Ghana. His wife, Mrs. Annan, spoke about this. Their friend, who is the Secretary General's special envoy for road safety, was here. And they had looked forward to seeing him here and showing him the country. When he comes to Ghana, you know, he and Mrs. Annan, they speak about simple things. They speak about nutrition. They speak about road safety. They speak about jobs for young people, things that make a difference in ordinary lives. And it shows his humble side, you know, that he's so focused on what can make a difference. I think he's very proud of Ghana. Was very proud of all of the success of Ghana and Ghana's leadership, the fact that His Excellency President Akufo-Addo was the co-chair of the Secretary General's group of eminent advocates for the Sustainable Development Goals, and was the AU's gender champion. These recognize a lot of progress in Ghana, and that Ghana has a lot to share with the world, but it also shows that there's high expectations, you know, that we can all improve.
How well would you say that Ghana has performed in implementing the recommendations it has accepted made by the UN Human Rights Council?
What Ghana accepted from the recommendations was exactly what they had put into the report, that there was a commitment to protect everybody from violence, from discrimination, and including those who were at risk of violence and discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. And they based that on the Constitution of Ghana, which declares that all Ghanaians have equal access to law.